Tyler, Tixier, and Nieva, all drivers who have never won the F1 championship in GPL. They must hold back the most decorated driver in the history of the series, Mick Claridge. With only 3 rounds left, it's going to be a fascinating end to a topsy-turvy season as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road America is easily one of the most common tracks to show up on the schedule, with 9 previous appearances. In case you missed any of them, let's head to our track guide to learn about it. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. Well, of all the variety of series that this place has seen, F1 is one that sadly hasn't been here, Joey, but I still feel like these cars will be right at home.
Yes, they will be. It is a classic racetrack, but one thing about this racetrack, it's very narrow. I think that drivers take advantage of the width out here, and with these older cars, the wheels sticking way out, something that is bound to happen is side-to-side contact, especially coming out of turn 1, headed down into turn 3. Things seem to get very narrow, and then a danger point at all races here. Turn 5, heavy on the brakes for the first time. One of the most iconic corners in all of motorsports is the carousel coming down the hill, leading into the kink. One of the fastest turns in the world that these drivers are going to see, and then all comes down to Canada Corner down there. Another potential opportunity to overstep the limit here at Road America.
Now, as for the championship that I had briefly mentioned up at the top of the show, it's kind of interesting up there because Bill Tyler, Tixier, and Nieva are leading, as I mentioned. But Mick Claridge, who at first thought he was not going to be competing the whole season, has confirmed to me that he intends to be back for the remainder of it. And he is going to try and go for that championship. Now, he's definitely been one of the faster drivers this season, but he's got some ground to make up because of a missed race. The drop weeks will help him in that sense, but he also has a couple of bad finishes, both at Charlotte and last time out at Silverstone. So we'll see if he can manage to overtake those top 3 here in a bit. But right now, there is less than 40 points from Bill to Mick Claridge, with Tixier and Nieva scattered in there. And then not too far back, John Olsen, who Mick tells us is pretty fast. And then David Rossi, curiously, is sitting 6th, only a single point behind John Olsen. And Rossi has really come into this F1 championship, showing that he belongs after winning multiple F2 championships. Speaking of which, we also have the points for that as well, Joey.
Yeah, right now, Glenn Becker leads the way comfortably in the F2 championship over Jeff Saunders there in the 2nd place. But, Joe, it really tightens up here. 3rd, Don Peak, only a handful of points behind Andrew Eng there in 4th, and then also Jan Steffen, Terry Traumhauser, Bjorn Ackerman, all locked into this points battle here in the midfield in the F2 Championship. And then, as always, we got Cam Porter, Christian Eschner, and Mats Linden rounding out the top 10 in that F2 Championship.
As for the Cup of Nations, the United States leads the UK, but with Mick taking part in the rest of the season, will that change around? Spain holding down third is followed by Singapore and Australia pretty closely together in fourth and fifth, but they've got a long ways to go to get up into the hunt. They expect those top three to be the ones contending for the championship. Now, we also have race details. Why don't we head over to those here, Joey?
Round 10 of 12 here at Road America. Going to be doing 16 laps. Doesn't seem like very much, but given the longer nature of this circuit, plenty of racing time, open setups out there, so all of the drivers will have tweaked and tuned on it to match their liking out there. No spare car. Drive-through penalty at 17x and disqualification at 25. Joe, I don't think we're going to get into that. I think that if these cars go off track or if they have contact with each other, it's going to be pretty big damage at the speeds that they see around this place.
Yeah, that is for sure. If you wind up losing control of the car, then you're probably going to be in a bad state as this thing gets going fast and then it doesn't want to slow down typically. As right now we are in the qualifying session and we're still waiting for the first drivers to set a time since it is a relatively long lap. Even in these cars, as fast as they get going down the straights, it takes more than 2 minutes to get around in most cases. So Mick Claridge, can he manage to put himself in pole position here today as we ride on board down through the carousel? Let's stay on for the kink, though. I want to see what it's like on board through here.
Always a pucker factor moment. I'm curious if he lifts too much.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, you definitely have to lift. I was going to say, you have to hit the brakes in these things through there, but looks like he takes it nice and steady and keeps it on the circuit. And then, of course, it's also trickier down into Canada Corner with that little bit of a jink to the left in the braking zone for them as well. So far, so good. All he has to do is keep it on for 2 more turns. There's one of them. And now the last one. And John Olsen has set a lap in front of him. So let's see if Mick can respond.
And just watching Mick, Joe, one thing I'm noticing is how much the car is really moving around underneath him. And I mentioned how narrow this racetrack can be. By the time you put, 30 plus other competitors out there, things are going to get pretty tight.
Claridge does go quicker by about 0.2 of a second, and Tixier has managed to move into second place. Nieva with a great lap there in fourth, less than a tenth off of John Olsen. And Togo Hisada is back as well. He's another fly in the ointment for all of our competitors. Only showed up halfway through the season and has since taken a win and is basically stealing points from those who probably will need every little one that they can get for these remaining 3 rounds.
See him going down this big back straightaway here. That run out of turn 3, always so important to get the maximum top speed. And I'm looking here over 180 miles an hour before he's hard on the brakes down into turn 5.
Yeah, he's got about 0.8 of a second to catch Mick Claridge after that first lap. So definitely quite a bit between them. Don't see a lap for Xavier Sanchez yet. Looks like he had an off track somewhere. Same thing with Ben Zoko. So those are 2 drivers that will need to try and hustle around. And Gwen Old, who's been very quick as of late, she also missed her first lap. So there's a few major players that could still switch things up at the top, or they could find themselves with a whole lot of passes to make over the course of this race.
Here we got Gwen Old on screen, going through the kink, down into Canada Corner. See the drivers really maximizing the use of these so-called straightaways here at Road America. And definitely down the longer back straightaway, things get pretty curvy.
Yeah, and these cars are kind of known when they get up to speed to actually causing a little bit of lift in them instead of downforce. So I'm sure it is extremely scary around the little kinks left and right over some of those straightaways. Claridge across the line does not go faster. Interesting. Tixier is unable to complete his second lap. Same thing with Olsen. Nieva doesn't go quicker. Interesting that we're not seeing improvement the second time around. Hisada, a 205.3. That's going to bump him up to third. And not sure why we're seeing a lot of drivers unable to go any faster.
Yeah, a little bit strange out there. Usually the lighter fuel load means a little bit less weight to haul around, and at a place like Road America, that can definitely pay benefits. As see Robert Plumley trying to put one on the board right now, coming through Canada Corner, the lowest part of this racetrack.
Plumley, I believe, is another one of those drivers that still needs a lap, and you can see there isn't much time, unfortunately, so it's a little bit tight around here. You have to get out there immediately to set a time, or else you're going to start to run out of it. Plumley up the straightaway, the front stretch here, and he should have just enough, a few seconds left as he crosses a 207.7. Is going to jump him up into 19th, but at least he's not starting 30th or lower like a lot of the other drivers are going to wind up with. So our starting grid sees Mick Claridge on the pole with Sebastian Tixier in second. Togo Hisada able to jump up to P3 as John Olsen will start fourth and Jorge Nieva P5. Then it's Ben Zocco in the sixth position, followed by Gary Quellen, P7. Bill Tyler, one of the championship contenders, championship leader right now, only starting eighth. Gary Ho, ninth, and Marco Salgado rounds out your top 10.
Laust Olsen, one of our camera cars, in 11th. Jared Borrell, there 12th. Jack David Spickett, 13th. Glenn Becker, Gwen Old rounding out the top 15. Got Paul Wilson there, 16th. Rolly Wallbank, Jeff Saunders, Robert Plumley, and Cam Porter in 20th.
Kevin Verbruggen in at 21st, followed by Michael Grissinger. Then you've got Tobias Harnvey, P23, and then Mats Linden to his outside. Cathcart starts in 25th, Brendan McCullough in 26th. Next row sees Bjorn Ackerman in 27th. Don Peak, not bad for him, starting 28th today. Terry Traumershauser will be 29th, and then in 30th, it's Jan Stiffen.
Andres Bruno there, 31st. Jonathan Jordan, 32nd. David Mills. Xavier Sanchez starting way back there in 34th. Kuzma Lesnoy, Jason Clapper, Kurt Clapper, Steve Morris, Kaj Hansen, Thomas Tuba, Andrew Eng, and Robert Reynolds round out the 42 cars here, Joe.
Full field here today, and they're just about lined up and ready to go. Standing start, and it's a bit of a narrow front stretch, so they do have that pit wall right to the side. They got to watch out. I have seen some wrecks on the green flags, which is about to fall. And there it is. Green flag is out, and it's a very bad start for Hisada. He goes nowhere as John Olsen comes up around the outside to try and take that third place away. They plunge towards turn one. Not going to be able to take this one as fast as some cars, with them having to get onto the brakes down to this right-hander. So far, so good at the front of the pack. Watching the back to see if anybody else has issues, and it looks like we're clean through one. Down into three we go.
Yeah, actually pretty surprisingly clean. I don't see any cars off so far. A few cars losing position. And tell you what, Xavier Sanchez is already up to 24th from way back down the 30s.
Impressive stuff, but what about turn 5, having to slam on the brakes down into here? Front of the field is looking okay. There's a few attempts as Quellen and Zocco battle for 6th position. Behind them, everybody's stacking up, but I'm not seeing any major incidents. One car does get tipped off at the very back. Otherwise, we're clean.
Really good job. You got to remember, these tires are really difficult to manage, and going downhill into turn 8 the first time. Joe, we're going to see him go through the carousel and kink at speed.
Oh, this is going to be fascinating. Tixier is right close on the back of Claridge as well, making a race for the lead. That was Cathcart, by the way, He just got hit by someone else. I didn't quite see who. Here we go. Look from above as they come through the kink. Are we going to get through this one without an incident, or will we see a driver off, as it's going to be a massive one with them being all packed together? Not seeing anything quite yet. And as we continue to follow the leaders, oh, a move for second place, and very, very deep there for John Olsen.
Really aggressive move, but that's what happens here at Canada Corner. You get the slipstream effect, you get the run on the competitor in front of you, but look at him stack up behind John Olsen now.
Yeah, that offered up an opportunity for Togo Hisada, but he was unable to take it down to the inside. Tixier trying to break the slipstream, but the drivers all snake behind him to try and follow up. I see Kevin Verbruggen off down in the sand trap at the final turn. We'll check on that later to see what happened to him, as we have had a couple issues, but for the most part, this is a good start to this race, and we're on lap 2 already.
Really clean start to this race. Gerard Burrell just had problems in turn 1, as well as Cam Porter. He had just made a pass down the front straightaway, but makes a mistake into 1.
Oh, we got cars all sorts of off track in the first turn, including poor Don Peak is on his lid after he ran into somebody and he's getting spun around. That's probably going to be race over for him.
Thank goodness these are virtual cars here. We're going to catch a replay, Joe, but Don Peak just trying to avoid right here, goes driver's right, and a car comes across the track and he's got nowhere to go.
Didn't quite catch who it was, but yeah, it just was trying his best to woe up and unfortunately picked the wrong way, and that just launched him.
Yeah, thankfully he's got a strong neck here in the sim, because that would have been an ouchie.
Absolutely. It's still going to be frustrating this early in the morning for him, no doubt, but we'll see if he is able to get repairs off somehow and get back out on the track to try and capitalize on anybody else having issues today. In the meantime, as we fly through the kink once again, Togo Hisada challenging Tixier, who's still looking for his first championship. He's finally been getting some wins lately, and he's holding off the Japanese driver, but Hisada's already got a championship. He's already got wins. He's just here for pride, and he's making life a pain for the Singapore driver.
Well, and if these two don't really get organized, you see Mick Claridge starting to kind of run away with it, and when we see Mick get out front, he tends to really lay down some heaters, and that could spell trouble for everyone following.
Yeah, you're right. Mick Claridge, when he's on his day, is unfortunately hard to beat, but we've also seen some mistakes this season out of him. Could he wind up throwing it away later on, or has he really been nose to the grindstone for practice lately? He set the fastest lap of the race last time by, but look behind him as Tixier continues to defend from Togo Hisada. He is not worried about Claridge. He's trying to just grasp this P2.
Yeah, I don't blame him. And here, really close going down into turn 5. He's going to get a little bit of the slipstream. I expect him to make a move. We'll see if he goes driver's left or if Sebastian defends. Big block from Tixier. Now a loose moment from Togo, but he's able to gather it back up. Pretty good racing from these two, although starting to dice it up a little, Joe.
Absolutely. Great stuff from this pair. And John Olsen behind them. I'm surprised he's not any closer. A little wide there from Sebastian Tixier coming out of turn 6 after the Corvette bridge. So as they plunge downhill towards turn 8, more of the drivers dipping and diving, trying to find an opening amongst each other to see if they can make the overtake. Tixier still retains that second place. Nieva, don't forget about him. He's in the top 5 and still close behind as well. And we've had a problem for Laust Olsen. It looks like Gary Quellen may have been involved as he's also slow. That's one of our camera cars there for Laust. Wonder what happened to him.
I think things get stacked up in front of Laust. He goes to the inside, but just can't quite get it slowed down enough and makes contact.
That's Quellen in the 9 there. Unfortunately, the two just having big contact. And oh, what happened to Hisada? I think this was the kink. That is right after it. And he is sitting the wrong way, facing down the backstretch.
I don't know who got collected here. I believe that was Jorge Nieva that got into the back of him. Joe, we're going to see Togo go down the inside of the kink here, get super understeer, and then make contact with the wall. Nieva comes in at the end.
Yeah, tried to send it, and unfortunately, the bravery we've seen from him just bit him this time, and yeah, bounced him right back onto the track, right into the path of Nieva. Absolutely blasted into him. I'd say the championship drivers are not big fans of Togo Hisata today.
No, and you just see the chaos it causes on the back straight, and thankfully we have that tow button cleaned it up really quickly, but jump back to the action on the screen. This is Gwen Old up 10 positions into the top 5.
May not have had the best qualifying, but Gwen is racing great today and is trying to run away from Jack David Spickett there behind her. But Bill Tytler up ahead, only about 2 more seconds. Could maybe try and catch up. We'll see how much she's hassled by Jack and also Gary Ho back there in the 7th position, and Marco Salgado making up this 4-car train.
Gwen Old doing a really good job, but want to draw my attention 1 car further back. Xavier Sanchez right behind Benzoco. He's up into the top 10, started way back there in 34th position. He's not too far away from this train right behind Gwen Old. He could potentially get on the podium.
Indeed, this is a great run from a number of these drivers. Not ones that I really anticipated being able to try and make this up. But Sanchez, that is just astonishing that he is able to climb through the way that he has as he comes down into the kink himself. Benzoco up next. These two have definitely raced together plenty of times in this series, and Ben's known for being a difficult one to overtake.
You just got to hit your marks. Don't get phased about what's coming up in your mirror. And Ben just does a tremendous job at that. You don't see a ton of mistakes out of him in that number 7 car. And right now, he's definitely got a fast car. Xavier Sanchez behind him. And coming into turn 14, this is one of the most technical corners. Really got to nail your brake marker, get the front end turned. And Sanchez looks close. I don't know if he's close enough to make a move down into turn 1, but he's definitely in the slipstream.
Yeah, he's there, but it's going to be a long dive for him to try and do something here. Yeah, there's you can really see the distance. So is these longer shots down close to the track makes them look so much closer than they actually are. But from above, there you can get a better perspective. Tixier took the fastest lap last time, interestingly. Quicker than McClarridge, but he still has about a 1.5 seconds to make up. So we'll check on that a little later to see if they are able to make that a battle once again. In the meantime, back to Gwen Old with Jack David Spickett right behind her and gaining a lot of time. Oh, Gary Hill may have overshot the corner. No, he did not, but he was very good on the brakes. My goodness.
Well, and remember, we're only working lap 5 right now, about a third of the way through this race. I think that if we see lunges like that later in the race, maybe the tire life isn't going to be there. So got to be careful with how hard you push these cars.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't really run out of tires so much as they can overheat if you abuse them too much in this old car. And as the little grip as they offer, you don't want to take away any more. Great race here from Jack. Just staying patient with the 13, waiting for the right time to try and spot an opening to see if he can slide through as they come out of the kink, and he's using every inch of track.
They always get right up to that grass limit there in the kink, all about carrying that maximum apex speed, and then always tough. I mentioned it a few times, getting it hard on the brakes there in the Canada corner. And Joe, I don't think we're going to have anybody running out of gas here, but it's all the way uphill to start finish from Canada corner.
Yeah, they hopefully put enough fuel in the cars because they don't need any pit stops. Now, Robert Plumley had a big wreck at the kink and is our latest victim from that. I didn't quite see what it was, but he was definitely left smoking on the outside of that corner. Looks like we've pulled up the replay. All right, just a little bit of a bobble. Oh, and then touches the grass on the way in. That is a surefire way to end your day.
And I saw he was flirting with the grass a little bit coming out of the carousel. See him twitch just a little bit right here, and then he goes out, tries to maximize this entry line, and oversteps that limit just a little bit.
I always have to remember the rear tires stick out a little bit more than the front ones, and I think he found that out the hard way.
Looks pretty impressive, though. Style points to the max.
If only they counted for something. But Plubley is in pit lane, and I'm pretty sure that engine is gone, so he truly is done today. It is still Claridge, Tixier, Olsen, your podium, no change there. Not all that closer. That is Olsen that we see in the blue and white Colorado liveried car. Tixier just in front of him in the black and silver as we jump back to Gwen Old, Jack Spickett, and Gary Ho once again. And still getting closer. Jack has got this down about 0.2 of a second, probably making Gwen just a little bit nervous looking in those mirrors.
Yeah, but, Gwen Old is doing a really, really good job just holding position, not getting phased about what's coming up. And you're right, Jack David Spickett has had a few opportunities that he's gotten very close, but not quite close enough. And tell you what, Gwen Old is unfazed up there.
So it's going to be a battle of nerves between these four, it seems, as they break down into Canada Corner. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're catching Bill Tyler slightly. It's only about 1.5 seconds between them right now. And I'm pretty sure that Gwen was a little bit farther away than that when I checked earlier as they come down into the final turn. Want a good exit off of this one on the longest straight on the track. And it's a very good exit from Jack.
Really good opportunity here in the slipstream. See if he can close it up on that number 13 in front of him. He is close enough. See if he takes a look. No, he's already off the gas. Going to continue following Gwen. And what that tells me, Joe, is that he's actually pretty happy with the pace of the number 13. Yes, they are catching Bill Tyler.
They are indeed. So maybe he's got bigger picture thoughts here. Does Jack Spickett? Seeing if he could follow Gwen up to Bill Tyler, take that spot, then maybe overtake Old as they come down into the braking for turn 5. Tyler all the way to driver's left and then swings it back to the racing line. A little bit of a look from some of them back there. That's Gary Ho, who is coming from a long ways back and was not able to make the pass. A little deep for Gwen Old into turn 5, but makes the apex.
You see the car starting to wiggle a little bit here, and some of the pressure might be getting to Gwen Old, but they're continuing to hunt down Bill Tyler. And actually, the fastest car on the racetrack that wasn't in the top 3 that last lap was Ben Zocco, who you were talking about earlier, Joe.
Interesting. So Ben may be catching up to this group and bringing along Xavier Sanchez. That would make it, if they catch Bill Tyler, I think about a 7-car group. And that is going to be fun to watch, no doubt. The slipstream always makes these races interesting in this car. Oh, that was a mistake from Spickett. Here comes Ho. He's a much faster driver down the backstretch, but he's got no place to take the speed. Oh, off course for Spickett again.
You see how narrow this racetrack can really be when you start to play these defensive lines, but Jack David Spickett somehow maintains his position out there.
Finally, a mistake out of the 17, but thankfully did not end things for him. Let's see if he can recover this lap and catch back up that bright blue 13. Does look like he's rebuffed Gary Ho successfully.
And here's Ben Zocco. He's officially caught this battle. He's caught the back of Marco Antonio Salgado right in front of him, who's following Gary Ho, who just had that run at Jack Spickett. This is, like you said, Joe, shaping up to be 5+ cars.
Indeed. And as they come down towards turn 3, anybody going to get a good run towards 5 along the Moraine sweep? Let's see what the exit looks like as they come off of the right-hander. Pretty decent for most of them, but nobody seems to really be close enough to have a go unless Zocco is really ambitious here on Salgado. He's thinking about it. He's looking for it. So is Gary Ho. But I've seen Gary take that shallow line a couple times now. I think that might just be his line. And no change for position amongst them. Oh, another look, though, from Zocco.
And I think that Ben is really actually surprising me right now. I thought Xavier Sanchez was going to be able to drive around Zocco like we saw him do the rest of the field, but no, Ben actually dropped Xavier Sanchez, gapped him out to this field, and is now applying pressure to that 8th place. I know he's down a few spots from his starting grid. A lot of speed in that number 7.
Absolutely, and Sanchez, popular streamer, goes by Hakey360 and tends to run these vintage cars week in and week out here and Camel. It's a pretty common sight to see him show up down through the kettle bottoms once again. Does look like this group is having trouble seeing any sort of change for position despite mistakes. There's a car off. That's David Miles. That's a lapped car, so they're just going to go on by.
Oh, but it gets narrow. Looks like everybody's able to navigate them okay. A couple wiggles, but doesn't upset this battle at all. I'm seeing 7 cars here because it is officially Bill Tyler all the way back through Xavier Sanchez in the top 10.
Whew. So, while the top 3 have kind of run away with things, we've got a heck of a battle brewing back here. And once again, things getting a little bit tight between Salgado and Ho, but Salgado breaks early, and now it looks like Zoko spies an opportunity, gets himself down to the inside, but it's a drag race to turn 3, side by side into the corner, and given the ghost up is Salgado down into 9th position. A mistake in front of them. Who was that? That's Gary Ho.
Gary Ho just all by himself. Looks like he got loose in turn 3, and I'm watching Xavier Sanchez because now he's in the slipstream of Marco Salgado, who just got past, and here comes Sanchez down to the inside in turn 5, late on the brakes. Does he get it slowed down? Yes, he does, but here comes Salgado with an over-under. Nope, doesn't have the momentum.
So 2 positions in 2 corners for Marco, unfortunately. The Sanchez now up to 7th, Zoko up into 6th, and this split up that big group. It all kind of was brewing, and unfortunately it bubbled over as everybody finally had a chance to try and get some positions. Zoko now sets his sights on Spigot about 2 seconds up the road. But did we lose Olsen, actually? What happened to John Olsen? Where'd he go?
Oh, no.
Oh, out of turn 6. It looks like we've got the replay. This is a spot where if you maybe lose it in the grass, is that what happened? No, he just overcooked it.
It's really tricky up over turn 6. You come up over a crest, so visually you're blind on references, and then you're trying to squeeze the throttle as it still is unweighted, and very common to see loose on exit here.
Which is exactly what he did, and well, the wall is right there, so just slammed it straight into it, and that's another driver out. Gwen Olds is now up to 4th position and has caught Bill Tyler, so she could be on for a podium here.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because Gwen Old, right on the back of Bill Tyler like we're seeing, doesn't have the pressure in her mirrors anymore. She can focus forward, try to steal this last podium spot.
Wow, she is right on top of it. We were talking about how she was picking away at Bill's gap, and she is very much there now. This is one of the best opportunities we've seen for her to try and make an attack as she gets to the inside. Not really much of a defense from Tyler. I guess he saw the writing on the wall. He's going to fight it down into the braking, and Old gets him. Could be an over-under as Tyler tries to cut back. He's got the inside coming down at a 6, but decides against it.
She shuts the door wisely there and just needs to hit her marks for a couple corners here. Turn 8 can be so tricky. You come down the hill, you're in this new spot, just need to hit your marks, because if you can get through the carousel, it's usually single file all the way down to Canada Corner.
Gwen, I don't know what you're doing different this season compared to the previous ones, but keep doing it. This has been an impressive bit of improvement from that number 13 machine to be vying for podiums now pretty much week in, week out. Very sudden change back there as we check in with Cam Porter now in the number 21. Let's hop on board and see how his battle is going.
Already on it. Here's Cam Porter riding along board, going down into turn 8, trying to get by Kevin Verbruggen. Slips by the inside. Kevin just a little bit deep on the brakes there, and see the concentration out of Cam Porter's face.
Great stuff. And Cam Porter up to P22. Must have lost a few positions early on because he's still down from where he began. but is, let's see, 4 seconds back from Lesnoy, so could still be getting a few throughout today. Yeah, I always love the focus that you see from him when he's racing, and just completely unfazed as he slams down through the gears, heading into Canada corner. Up at the very front, we're not seeing much difference between Tixier and Claridge. In fact, I think Claridge is running away, and here is the perspective with the foot cam and the wheel cam, with the very cool classic Lotus wheel that you can buy online for your rig, just to show his devotion to this car here. And looks like he's unfortunately not got the speed that he needs to take the win. But the question is, what is this going to do championship-wise between Claridge, Tyler, and Tixier?
We'll definitely have to do the math. I'm not good at the live math when it comes to points championships, Joe. I'm good at like the lap time and the fuel counts, but don't count on me for those points counts. But actually looks like Jack David Spickett right now is applying a lot of pressure to Bill Tyler. Seems to kind of be falling off the pace right now as this race goes on.
Yeah, it was looking good early, but then we saw that mistake as he was chasing Gwyn. And in the meantime, trying to catch up to Bill and see if he can have an opportunity. And coming into Canada corner, he might, because he is very, very close to that rear end. But we've seen the weaving back and forth along this straightaway makes it tough, as for the second time through the kettle bottoms, he just about puts his wheels off. He's down to the inside. Tyler gives him space. Is this job done, though?
No, not quite yet. Bill Tyler's still there. He's going to fight back. He's got the track position on the inside, and a little bit of blinking out of Jack Spickett there, but able to complete the pass. And I got to really give props to Bill Tyler right there. He's ran a great race, and despite these other cars coming up at the end, he's leaving them room.
Remember, Bill's our championship leader. He falls down to 5th here. He's going to lose more points to Mick Claridge. That's really bad news. Great run, though, down the front stretch. Gets the slipstream. Spickett does not defend on him down into turn 1, but he comes around the outside and doesn't need to defend. Wow.
Once again, space left by both competitors. This is a great race for what is 4th on the racetrack. And look at this. Bill Tyler's got him lined up again.
Jack's not done with him. He's going to have to defend. Does he cover off the inside? Yes. This time he is going to get wise on it and just block him off from taking the apex away down into turn 5. But a little bit of a nose ahead under braking. Is it going to help out? No. Tyler, once again, unable to get 4th back.
And what this battle has done, look at who's closed it in. Ben Zocco and Xavier Sanchez. This is 4 cars now, all battling for 4th position.
As they come down the hurry downs into turn 8, it's going to get ever more complicated. Goes all the way back to Salgado in 8th spot. Gary Quellen, by the way, remember he got caught up with Laust Olsen. He's up to 9th once again, and is trying to catch up to these guys. I wouldn't put it past him if maybe he could get close to them by the end, especially if they start battling more. Zocco, who is interestingly exactly where he started, is followed by Sanchez, who's up 27.
It's very impressive what Xavier has done, not only to be running with this pack up here, call it the top 5, battling for 4th place position, but got to remember the track position that he's had to overcome to get there. He didn't start with these guys. He had to climb there.
Yeah, just an amazing run. I mean, he's 20 seconds off Mick Claridge. Not too bad considering how many overtakes he had to do, and is still that close at this stage. As they head up the hill, Zocco looks like he might be under threat. Let's see if Sanchez gives it a go down into turn 1. Not popping his nose out. Nope, he's not going to do it yet.
One thing I've noticed about Xavier here behind Zocco is that he's been plenty patient. I think he realizes that Ben has some good pace in here. But that being said, the lap count starting to wind down. That patience is going to go away real soon.
Yeah, we're down to 4 laps to go now. So, yeah, I agree. I think he's going to have to start making some moves, and might as well do them now, because if Zocco's not on the aggressive, then surely we're going to see Sanchez try to, and there you go. Around the outside coming into turn 5. A little too aggressive. All of them go deep. My goodness. Bill Tyler's off. Jack David Spickett is off. And Zoko says, thank you. I'm the only one that found the brake marker. I might get 2 here.
And you see him just having to tiptoe on the throttle pedal, Joe. I think the tires, they're definitely starting to go away on these competitors, and they're just having to be really careful. Ben taking a look down into turn 8. Same thing with Sanchez behind. It's almost a tandem pass. Ben doesn't get it done, but Sanchez does.
Looking for the long way around to the carousel. That's going to be tough in a car that doesn't use the downforce. And yeah, Zoko has to back out. But almost an over-under. Not something I've seen often at that corner. He doesn't quite have the space before they get to the kink. But whoa, big slide behind them as Sanchez gets crossed up through the kink.
Oh my gosh, I am laughing over here. Sanchez dropped a tire on entry, but here comes Zoko taking a look down the inside of the Canna corner. Not quite there to make a move, but he's got the nose still there and still maintains that corner off exit.
Don't think Ben was listening to our broadcast, but what timing for him to, as soon as I say, well, he's not making any aggressive moves, he is right on top of things now. And he is on the go. Can he manage to overtake? Oh, it wasn't a great exit out of the final turn. So don't think he'll do anything on Spickett, but it doesn't look like Sanchez is close enough either.
See him all kind of snaking for that draft down the front straightaway. Ben Zoko definitely getting more aggressive, really late on the brakes into turn 1, closes it up, but this is going to open the door for Sanchez potentially. I just think that the number 7 right now has the bit between his teeth. The laps are running out, and he is using up that brake pedal.
This time, though, he had to go defensive. Didn't feel safe to Xavier Sanchez. That slows up both of them. Sanchez gets a nice tow, but so does Zoko. Once again, pulling up on Jack. He is, yes, he's going for it for sure. In fact, he's very fast at the end of the straightaway, getting onto the binders. He takes the inside away. Can he make the corner is the question. Yes, he does. Job not done completely. Sanchez thinking about 3 wide, then has to lift as the battle carries on between Jack and Ben through turn 6 and can't get the throttle down. Jack has to give it up.
All of these cars just wiggling, trying to put the throttle down, and Ben claims that position. Now it's Sanchez trying to get around Jack David Spickett for that 5th place spot.
Big defensive line for Jack, and Sanchez wants desperately to try and get by. He does not want to lose touch with Ben Zoko with so few laps left to go. The one person that's loving this is Gwen Old, who's 4 seconds up the road now. She has said goodbye to all of them.
He has really hit her marks out there, and you're right, pieced out from this battle. You can't even see her on screen anymore.
Yeah, she has got that 3rd place in her hands. All she has to do is bring it home from here, because it seems like this whole group is just too concerned with one another to worry about that podium at this stage. Coming down to 2 laps to go now, and this is a giant question mark. Who's going to be in that 4th position?
Well, and the frustrations are here. You know, these drivers have all been locked in this battle, and here we go with 2 laps to go. Sanchez with a really good run on Spickett. Where is he going to go with it? He has to go driver's left, but this puts him actually on the racing line. He might be able to clear Spickett, but they go battling hard into turn 1, late on the brakes. Sanchez trying around the outside. They're still side by side into 3.
Oh, thought maybe he could keep the speed up, but just went a little deep. And Spickett with some fantastic defending here today. And it's going to be another opportunity for Sanchez. But watch out for Bill Tyler in the white and blue car. He could suddenly become involved in this as they head towards the braking zone. Looking around the outside, Sanchez with another attempt. Didn't work on the outside of turn 1. What about 5? Oh, he tries to cut back, but Bill Tyler's there.
Yeah, Bill Tyler's just waiting in the buffet line, and so is Marco Salgado right behind Bill Tyler. And the more that these cars battle, it's going to get compressed, and the more they battle, the more they use up their tires as well.
Sanchez Still hovering back there behind Spickett. Tyler was unable to make the move to try and take that top 5 position. Zoko, in the meantime, has been able to put some distance between himself and Jack, so he could be out of this fight for the remainder of it. We'll have to see. He could still make a mistake and get caught up by them, but for now, it's a battle for P5 instead of P4. Spickett going to be able to keep him behind into the kink. What about out of it? It's a good run from Sanchez. How brave is he?
Really good run from Sanchez. He's going to take drivers left. We've seen Jack Spickett go really late on the brake. Zabier even later. Does he overcook it? He does. Into the wall goes Sanchez.
Over ambitious down under braking. I wondered with that one. And unfortunately, that sends him back to 10th place. A lot of hard work undone for Sanchez and just the blink of an eye.
Yeah, and actually Glenn Becker's going to get around him as well. Further down the order for Zabier Sanchez.
Keeps Gary Ho behind him for now, so that's 9th place. Yeah, it's even still, man, I'm sure he's disappointed in himself after giving up so many positions that he had done such a fantastic job for. This is Bill Tyler in that number 6 that you see on screen with Spickett still in front of him. And nobody else has been able to go by. One more lap to try and get it done. Can Salgado or Tyler do it?
Bill Tyler's been able to get fantastic runs out of these corners. I don't think he's quite close enough going down into turn 5, but have to see if he makes up any ground and maybe has a potential opportunity going into Canada Corner late this last lap.
He's going to have to get a little closer than this, though. He's a little far behind and just doesn't get the overlap down into turn 5. As I mentioned, white flag lap here, and Claridge is already out of the carousel. There he is on screen now, 5 seconds back to Tixier, and this will be a 5-point swing between them. Is that going to be enough, especially when drop weeks start to become a bigger part of things here? He's got a little bit of lap traffic. That's David Mills, just in front of him. He sees the leader coming, gives him space as he spins off course, touching the grass, unfortunately. Mick Claridge returns for the season when he wasn't expecting to, and he's already taken 3 wins, I believe, this season. About to make it a 4th out of the final corner. Mick Claridge, is he back in the hunt? Well, he says, I think so, with a victory at Road America.
Him wiggling the steering wheel, a little bit of smoke show as they go over the top. Sebastian Tixier just a few seconds behind, and let me tell you, these two just took the field to Gapplebee's.
I'll have to remember that one. Gwen Olds is going to get a podium here today in the number 13. Well done to Gwen, starting from 15th position. Zoko, hard fought to get that 4th place.
Jack David Spickett hangs on to the top 5. I think Bill Tyler just needed one more lap to crawl back up there and take that fight to him.
If I'm seeing correctly, this is the first podium this season for Gwen Olds, according to the stats. So well done to her as Sanchez wraps it up with 9th there. Jason Clapper up 36 spots, trying to make it one more. He and Rolly Wallbank side by side. Going to be close at the line, and he gets him.
Stole it away from Rolly Wallbank, does Jason Clapper. What a finish to this one.
Gonna see, looks like 29 cars, I think, finish on the lead lap. No, 28 cars gonna finish on the lead lap with Jonathan Jordan, the last one there coming up to the finish. So as the last of the cars get to the line, we are going to take a quick break, and Jordan definitely not going to get the spot away from Tuba, unfortunately. We'll be back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Road America. For Mick Claridge, it was a relatively straightforward race. He started from pole and took the win, not really hassled by many. As behind him, Tixier limited the damage, only lost 5 points to him on this one. But again, 2 more rounds that he's got to survive for Tixier to hope to try and take his first championship. Gwen Olds, we believe, with her first ever podium in this series. In fact, I was looking through the stats. I didn't see her name anywhere. As Ben Zocco followed up in fourth, he was very happy with that race as he had a heck of a time in that battle. So did Jack David Spickett, who went from 13th to 5th himself, but couldn't quite hold off some of the fast runners. Still, a top 5 is very worthy. As Bill Tyler, our points leader, is he going to lose that points lead after this one? He only finished 6th. Salgado was 7th, and Quellen was 8th. Sanchez, who came up from 34th, we found out he had not done any practice laps up until that qualifying session, which makes it amazing that he passed as many cars as he did. He was vying for that top 5 until that late mistake and had to fall for 9th. Gary Ho rounds out your top 10.
Here in 11th, we have Glenn Becker. Jeff Saunders in the 12th place position. Michael Grissinger, 13th. Paul Wilson there, 14th. Jason Clapper, another big movers, up 21 positions from his 36th starting spot to end up in the top 15. Rolly Wallbank there in 16th. Tobias Harnvey. Cam Porter, who we were able to ride on board with for a little bit there, 18th. Bjorn Ackerman and Steve Morris rounding out the top 20.
21st goes to Traumahauser, and Lesnoy will be 22nd. Bruno finishes P23. A lot of these drivers made up a lot of spots themselves from some of the attrition we saw earlier. Andrew Ang went from 41st to 24th, and Mats Linden finished 25th, actually went down 1 in his race. Tuba up from 40th to 26th as Kurt Clapper wound up in 27th, and Jordan was 28th, last car on the lead lap. For Bruggen, had some sort of issue because I see him in the pits after the at the end of the race here. He was 29th. Laus Stolson had an early wreck, wound up a lap down in 30th.
In all of these competitors, David Mills 3 laps down, Jan Steffen 4, and then these other competitors, Robert Reynolds, Gerard Burrell, John Olson, all caught up in wrecks about halfway through the race, and then everybody else with problems early on. Jorge Nieva, Don Peak, Robert Plumley, Togo Hisada, which we saw there with that wreck in the kink, Brent McCulloch, Brad Cathcart, and Kaj Hansen.
And it looks like Joey has managed to catch up with our winner, Mick Claridge, who is back and trying his hardest to make another championship.
Well, Mick, congratulations on taking the pole and the race win here at Road America.
Cheers, Joey. Nice one. Yeah, thanks, mate.
Now, I know that it wasn't all easy out there. You had a little bit of company there for the first handful of laps. Were you worried about Sebastian Tixier's pace behind you?
Yeah, I was worried about Seb. I was worried about Togo and worried about John. They were all quick, and it didn't take much to keep up. We had a whole load of races this week. There was a lot of races going on this week, and yeah, it was really tough to break the toe. And if you could do it, then you was okay, you know. But man, it's such a knife edge, this car at the moment. I've sort of learnt now that you can go faster by taking it easy, if that sounds okay. If you hammer the brakes too hard, you just overheat the fronts in this car now, and it just won't turn in. And it's really hard to notice. You just see the lap time hemorrhaging, so you really have to do as many miles as you can, you know, through the week, and try and learn the stuff, you know, about applying the brakes. It really is on the brakes. This car's such a tough beast at the moment.
Well, and was there a point in the race that you were able to break that slipstream and able to breathe a little bit, or was it head down the whole time?
Well, it was head down at the start, and then once I knew I'd got the gap to Seb, which is, you know, I don't know, 2.2 second draft or whatever, then I sort of relaxed, and then all of a sudden I was 4 tenths quicker. And that's what I'm talking about. That's with the brakes. That's just taking it easy on the brakes and just letting the car roll into the corners, and it just goes so much quicker. But when you're in the heat of the battle, it's really hard to do that because you just want to go as fast as you can, you know?
Well, yes, I do know. Being a racing driver, you just always want to go as fast as possible, but sometimes the machine and the equipment doesn't let you do that. So it's kind of balancing that seesaw, if you will. But Mick, I know that your time is getting somewhat limited here in the sim. Looking in the future, are we going to see you next week?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be here next week. I'm not 100% sure about Le Mans because all the things are changing around with regards to the ride and when I can go. Le Mans might be a week where I can do the race, but I want to go. So, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So maybe I'll make a decision next week, see how next week goes. If I do well next week, then I'll maybe stick around to the end.
Awesome. And before I let you go, anybody you want to say hi to?
Oh, man. Jesus, you put me on the spot there. I didn't actually think of anyone. I'll tell you what, I have to say a shout out to Seb today because when we were coming down the back straight there into Canada Corner and he opened the steering up because John missed his mark, I have to say that's serious awareness. You don't see that happen a lot, and that sort of stuff really impresses me. I was thinking about that during the race and I just thought, well, he comes from the V8 supercar, so he's probably doing that every week.
Well, Mick Claridge, your winner, to no surprise to a lot of people, though, and taking it home here at Road America. Congrats, Mick.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Surprised we didn't hear a shout to the McKenzie boys there from Mick Claridge, but it looks like we've got our third place finisher, Gwen Old. Just to double check that our stats are correct. If I'm seeing right, Gwen, this is your first podium on the broadcast race.
Yep, certainly is. It's my first podium on any iRacing broadcast, to be honest. So this is a first.
Well, congratulations. I mean, we were all kind of talking about over the break how amazed we were at your progress. What do you think made the difference this season that's kind of brought you to the fore and put you in the hunt?
I think the biggest thing, it's kind of like what Mick was just saying. I especially like I think I kind of figured out at Monza, and then I've been trying to apply that. Be a lot kind of smoother on the brakes, easier into the corners. I think I was overdriving the car quite a bit before, and trying to stop that has certainly helped a lot. It's been a lot harder to do here at Road America, though. There's so many super hard, long braking zones that I've been looking up all over the place, and it's not been helping. But yeah, somehow that race worked.
Well, the good news is you go from a 4-mile track to less than 2 miles in length out at Summit Point. Do you think that might be a little bit more your bailiwick out there?
To be honest, I'd go with the opposite. I think this car, my strength has always been the kind of more high-speed sweeping corners. So Summit Point's not got so many of those. Well with Monza there.
Yeah, we'll cross our fingers for you regardless. Again, you've really impressed us up here, and glad to see you get that first podium. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you more in the future.
I was not expecting that from 15th on the grid.
Great work there from Gwen Old. Up 13 positions there, 12 positions rather, to make it up into the top 3. Up next, though, another man that had quite a fight out there. Joey's caught up with Ben Zocco.
Well, Ben, I know you were pretty happy with the 4th place result. It may not be on the podium, but I saw a big smoke show once you crossed start-finish line there.
My tradition, good or bad, I always do a burnout at the end of the race, so keep an eye out for that.
I love it. I personally love seeing that. And I actually want to give you huge props, Ben, because I went back and looked at what made you fall back through the order, and you did the right thing coming through lap 2 at the kink. There was a wreck in front of you, and you hit the brakes, slowed up, stayed out of everybody's way, and then had this huge charge back through the field. It had to have felt good to get back up there into contention.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I benefited from other people crashing out or whatever, but when the crash happened in front of me, I kind of thought I could just keep it pinned and the cars would fly over me, but I didn't want to take that risk. I've had so many bad races in a row, so I had to slow it right up. Obviously not the best part of the track to do it on, but I tried to keep the car predictable, and so everyone could go around me, and then I had to fight my way through, and it was weird because I had Sanchez behind me?
Yeah, Xavier was behind you. Yep.
He came up and I thought, oh, he's usually like my pace or faster. What's he doing behind me? Like down in 13th or wherever we were. And yeah, of course he was coming back through the field himself, and it was really a weird situation to be charging back through the field but having someone hassling you the whole way. I had to defend 3 or 4 times, so that he was really pushing me on. And then when we caught the other cars, I had to be so decisive getting through that traffic because he was right there behind me the whole time. So it was great, clean racing as always with him. And yeah, the other people that I caught up to, I didn't even catch names because there was just so much going on. But everyone was really clean and respectful, and it was it just made for a really fun race.
Well, Ben, you just kind of wrapped up your entire race, and I love that because these are the races that I would look back on fondly. Even though you might not have the checkered flag at the end, you got to feel good after this one, being able to climb yourself up out of that hole that wasn't your fault to begin with.
Yeah, to me, the results don't matter too much. It's about having fun. So I'd rather have a fun race here, finish ahead of where I started, even with an incident, and have a really fun, entertaining race rather than just. I mean, sure, I'd like to just lead from start to finish and have no one challenge me, but I also like to have a good battle with some overtakes. A good race can be an intense race where no one passes anyone, but it's nose to tail the whole way. That's fun too. But this I had a bit of both of the pressure from behind and making some passes myself. I don't know how many cars I passed, but I think I had to fight for every one of them.
Well, I know that you're up officially 2 spots from your starting grid, but that does not tell the story of what your race was, certainly. And hopefully you get to spray some champagne in the near future. And last thing, anybody you want to say hi to? Yeah,
Gwen, great podium. That's as you were saying, someone that surprised us all. You know, you'd see her participating in the series for a while, and just all of a sudden pops right up to like on my pace. So good to see Gwen on the podium.
Well, that was Ben Zocco coming home 4th today at Road America.
One last one. We've got Cam Porter, who finished 18th. Didn't get to see as much of him because of the incredible battles up at the front, but we did check in with you and did seem like you were making progress forward, Cam. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Well, I kind of torpedoed my own race today. It didn't go as I was hoping. My start went pretty well. I was behind Rowley Wallbank, and I got a good run on him into turn 1, and unfortunately I didn't account for the extra speed that I was carrying for the draft and just overshot the corner. So I lost a couple of positions because of that, and then I was coming back. I ended up catching Rowley again, and then the same thing happened. I got a good run on him on the front straight. I was going to try to set up the pass, but I saw someone coming out of the pit exit right at the last second, and I thought I braked early, but I think Rowley braked early also. So I was afraid I was going to hit him, so I ditched it in the dirt to avoid taking him out. So I just kind of torpedoed my own race today.
Well, it's still admirable that, you looked out for your fellow competitor and didn't want to compromise their race. We always talk to the drivers up at the front a lot, but not as much guys like you who usually start somewhere around the mid-pack. What's it like with 40-some cars out here coming into turn 1? And as there we see your incident on screen. What's it like trying to get yourself ready to stay out of trouble surrounded by so many other drivers?
It's really tough because you have to be mindful that everyone's checking up early. You got to make sure you let off the gas a little early, brake a little early, so you're not crashing into the guys ahead of you or beside you. Just trying to take it easy especially on the first lap. Just being safe and careful. The last thing I want to do is accidentally take somebody out. And I think this series is really gentlemanly in that way. It's one of the reasons why I really like racing this series is everyone seems to be racing gentlemanly and gentlewomanly, actually. Congratulations to Glenn for being on the podium. But yeah, just gotta be mindful of other people and how they're checking up and the accordion effect going into especially the tight corners.
Well, and that spatial awareness is probably going to come in handy. We're heading to Summit Point. If we wind up with 40-plus drivers, what's going through your head there?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it might split because it's a free track. Who knows?
Oh yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that'll be challenging for sure. Short track, tight, twisty. Should be exciting though. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Oh, I am too. That's going to be a fun one. We've been there plenty of times before. Thanks for coming and chatting with us, and hopefully we'll get to see you higher up as well at Summit Point.
Thanks, guys. See you in Camo later.
That was Cam Porter taking a top 20 today, which will wrap us up. And of course, before we go, as always, we want to give a thank you to the GPL community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Thanks to the team today, Rob, Joey, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race, as we mentioned, Summit Point will be Saturday, February 25th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, as alluded to by Cam. The Camel GT Series is up next at Watkins Glen, noon Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.